And welcome back to Daily Wrap. I'm Joe Concha, joined by my co-host, Rick Unger. And filling out the panel tonight, we have country music star Lee Greenwood and temple music star Brad Hershfield. Anyway.
You might want to explain that.
Yeah,
just saying.
We will during the commercial. The Socialist Center Bernie Sanders is surging. He's gaining ground on Hillary Clinton in Iowa. Check out this new Quinnipiac University poll. Former secretary still has a 19-point lead, but Senator Sanders has more than doubled his support among Democrats in Iowa. We saw before the show he was playing actually an arena there, 10,000 people, right? He's like New Direction, but different. Anyway, Eddie Zippier wrote an op-ed for The Hill that he says he still believes it's all empty hype for Sanders. He says there's no surge and no chance of overtaking Mrs. Clinton. Dr. Paul Rutledge at the University of West Georgia, wherever that may be, attributed it to the media trying to sensationalize an otherwise dreadfully boring Democratic primary. In other words, all media hype. But if you look at the crowds, as we just mentioned, he seems to be resonating, Brad Hershfield.
He is resonating. Now, I don't think the country's going to get a socialist president. I don't think we have to worry about that. But I think ignoring why he's resonating is a mistake. The same way I think ignoring why Donald Trump is resonating is a mistake. I think people are tired of the same old, same old. Now, what we're going to need to see is, can anyone emerge who will not be the same old politics and actually be credible and be somewhere reasonably centrist enough to actually lead the country?
Lee, I have no idea where you lean and politically.
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, why don't you inform me on that at least?
I'm a conservative Christian.
You're a conservative Christian. Okay, so Bernie Sanders
That's the best
probably
way to
not
put
getting
it.
your vote.
Probably not.
And Hillary Clinton not really considering it.
I don't think so.
Who's your horse? Do you got one yet?
Well, you know, I work with the Bush family. I like Jeb Bush an awful lot, and I don't think there's anything to stop a Clinton-Bush election. And I wonder why other countries laugh at us. And here we are, over and over and over again. And you're exactly right. I think people are tired of the same old thing.
It's amazing. And you go back to 1980. 1980.
Yeah,
you
know that Lee was such a profound political analyst. You said
why
what
he's
I
on the
said.
show.
That's right.
No
That's
way
where I heard it.
It's not. There's no way it's not a Bush-Clinton race.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with you.
And I also would agree with you that, as everybody here has heard me say, that do not rule out Governor Bush, because he is a serious contender in that race, especially the way things are going. Look, what this writer said about Bernie Sanders, he was partially right. There is no way that Bernie Sanders can overtake Hillary Clinton, but it's not empty hype. That's wrong. When you can fill a stadium, I mean, granted, it's Madison, Wisconsin, which is the home of college liberalism, but you know what? 10,000 people, folks, are 10,000 people. That's some serious stuff. So don't write him off. He's delivering a serious message and he's being heard, but no, he won't be the candidate.
Maybe some younger folks don't mind the whole socialism thing.
Well, maybe they don't, but it won't be enough to get him.
It won't get him over the top, but I think he's filling crowds in ways, because Hillary really is the same old, agree with her or disagree, in ways that I think Jeb Bush is not. In other words, the name may be the same, but he is less the same old relative to his family than Hillary is relative to hers.
Well, there's also positioning for the next election. I mean, you know.
Yeah, there is, but it won't be Bernie Sanders then either. But look, I mean, people like him because he's probably the most honest man in Washington, D.C.
He's a decent guy. He's not this guy. He's just wrong.
He's very consistent.
How can you not like that?
Yeah.
That's for sure. And let's check out, while we just saw some of the crowds that were at Sanders' campaign events. They're just incredible. Let's take a look at one tweet. AP reports 10,000. That's what I was referring to before. Pack Coliseum, that was in Madison. Of course, as Rick said, that's where the University of Wisconsin is. That's the largest event yet for any 2016 candidate. That's certainly very interesting. Do you think this just shows how, now granted, Hillary can be a bad candidate, and I argue that she's a bad candidate, and I think not a lot of people would disagree in terms of the way this campaign's been run so far. All we do is talk about email servers and this denial,
questions.
Right, and her never doing like any major interviews with anybody. It looks
suspicious.
bad. It looks suspicious, exactly. But at the same time, I mean, does this just show how weak Hillary is, and does Joe Biden jump in? I know we're going to talk about it a little later.
I mean, look, I think that's a big question mark right now. I understand why he's being a little reluctant. Obviously, his personal life's been difficult, but he's a realist. I know Joe Biden. He's a smart politician. I know people like to make fun of him. He understands that it may be too late to overtake Hillary, and I don't think he's going to go through it for nothing.
It's
a lot of it
days to the
depends.
election.
even still, the money
From a money
raising
perspective?
and everything else, a lot of it's going to depend on if Hillary further self-destructs.
Doesn't Bernie Sanders show that money means nothing? That with social media, you don't have to do the advertising.
he's not gonna
I
win.
wouldn't say money.
No, I
means
understand,
nothing.
but
I agree.
no,
I agree.
not nothing. But I think it
Although
means
Bernie
less than it
Sanders
used
might
to.
argue that money means nothing because he's a socialist.
It means Brad. It means less than it used to.
100%. You're absolutely
Social
right
media
about
gets
that.
your word out when advertising.
I
can.
think you're absolutely right, and I think we should never underestimate Hillary's ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of
Boy,
victory.
that's the
Agreed.
truth.
Anyway, but Mr. Sanders still is bringing in some money. He raked in an impressive $15 million in the first 2 months of his campaign. And remember, he's not taking any major contributions, right? So there you go. That's pretty impressive. But Hillary Clinton's super PACs have raised $24 million so far this year, and her campaign has raised an overall $45 million. So getting back to Sanders one more time, I guess, does the money, will that eventually overcome him, or just the fact that socialist ends
He's
it?
not going to get close. But you know what? I have to point out that photo we saw of the rally at the University
Yeah.
of Wisconsin. That looked like the front 2 rows of a Lee Greenwood concert.
That's
That's
true.
about all that was. So.
But is all elections now just about the money?
Largely,
I'd say less.
Yeah. Well, it's less than people want to say. But look, we're not in the heavy ad media spending time.
Right.
Once we
Exactly.
get to that, it's all about the money.
Then it's all about
I mean, you
money.
can
I
both
agree
be
with
right.
you.
It's largely about the money, but it's less about the money than it has been in previous elections.
But
It
he's
will be
right
for those
too. When it
reasons.
gets
I
down
just-
to the last 6 months,
It's
look out.
largely
It's
about
all
money.
that.
Then
don't,
it's about the money.
Don't you find yourself rooting for Bernie in a certain sense where we see one poll where he actually overtakes her just to see the
Well,
Hillary Clan just go into
well,
a complete
yeah.
panic?
Well,
We can't beat him.
It's an easy yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
But he's right. I don't think Bernie will.
Also on the 2016 campaign trail, former Virginia Senator Jim Webb became the 5th Democrat, by the way, to enter the race. Quickly, what are his chances?
Not
Quickly.
great, but I think he's interesting.
Okay, Rick. Lee.
He's a great man. I'll give him an 8.
Okay, very good. Back with more in just a moment.